All right, welcome everybody to the Living Hope Agency call. I'm excited tonight to talk about really how to shorten the learning curve and start selling IUL fast. I think for myself personally, just IUL was such an intimidating thing for the longest time. If it was anything that wasn't an easy solve IUL, I didn't want to touch it. I didn't want to look at it just because it was more to learn. And sometimes in this business, you got to slow down to speed up. And that's a concept that I've struggled with at so many times in my career. Whether it was I needed to slow down to hire a new staff member so that we could, train them up and so we can move faster, or slow down when I've already been, cranking on final expense and mortgage protection. And now I want to go and try something new that's outside of my comfort zone, learn a new skill set, all of these things. I had to slow down to be able to speed up. What is speeding up in this business? Bigger premium per household and higher persistency. So IUL is an incredible market to get into, to learn, to add to your tool belt. Our bread and butter is life insurance. At the end of the day, people go, well, what should I do? You should sell life insurance. So final expense, mortgage protection, IULs, all these things, you see these different lead types. It's all under the life insurance umbrella. People go, well, I want to do only mortgage protection. I'm like, well, at the end of the day, you are selling life insurance. Mortgage protection is a lead type. Final expense is a lead type. At the end of the day, I've sold whole life insurance and term insurance and IULs to final expense leads. I've sold final expense type policies or mortgage protection, et cetera, to a mortgage protection policy. I've sold IULs in a mortgage protection appointment. So at the end of the day, we sell life insurance. We have different types of leads that lead us down the channel of why somebody is looking for life insurance, and we help them out with that. So at the end of the day, just when you start getting into the IUL game, which we're going to talk about a little bit more here tonight, Index Universal Life, you start to see a different type of client. You start to see somebody who is a little bit more focused in on their retirement. So therefore, cash value type policies start to make a lot of sense. So first thing I want to talk about, just some of the resources that are available to you. So the IUL Bootcamp, which is on the Simple Retirement Solutions website. So if you go to fflsrs.com, fflsrs.com, you will get there and it's going to talk about IULs and annuities. And there's a little button that says get certified. We have a handful of carriers that every single person is going to get contracted with automatically, but carriers like F&G and NLG and some of our newer carriers like Columbus Life and North American, Lafayette, you need to go through and get certified by going through the IUL boot camp or the annuity boot camp for them to go ahead and give you those carriers. So right off the bat, you're going to be able to write, for instance, Americo, Mutual of Omaha, Ethos. Those are our simplified issue, easy solve type IULs right away. But in order to get into some of these more complex scenarios where we're talking about, rolling money into a policy, exchanging, pour in, that kind of stuff, which you can talk about and go down so many rabbit holes with that. You will need to have a few other carriers, but you have no need to have those carriers until you really start to get certified going through some of this IUL training. So the IUL Bootcamp, it's great. If you've been through the Living Hope Bootcamp, it's like 14 hours long. This one you can get through in like an hour and a half. So shout out to Zach Tardowski for making it really simple. We don't do a great job of making things simple. We're thorough. We'll make sure you get everything you need. But it wasn't very intimidating to watch a bunch of 5-10 minute videos and feel like I had a handle on what was available to me for IUL resources. So that's number one. Number two, what leads are available to you if you want to go ahead and start working IULs? So if you get into the Integrity Lead Center, social media leads. So you jump in there, you hit life, you hit social media, you scroll down to the bottom. Obviously, depending on your state, these things are refilling pretty fast. I mean, hundreds and hundreds are being dropped in per day. And you've got everything from a bronze IUL lead to a diamond IUL lead. The different levels are based on the age. So a $30 diamond lead is brand new, is coming in the last probably 24 to 48 hours, maybe within the last week. And a bronze lead could be a year, 2 years old. I've been loving the silver IUL leads, $2.50 a piece. Get 100 of them for $250. Get 300 of them for $750. Obviously, you got to pick and choose and kind of chip your order together if you're just working aged leads, because they're not always available each day. But being in that CRM, the ILC, and seeing what aged leads are available to you. I love it because you'd be so surprised how many people have come off a silver IUL lead and turned into, multiple hundreds of dollars a month sale. And the ROI is just incredible on that. You get 100, $2.50 leads and you sell one person for $200 a month, $300 a month. Your ROI is amazing. 4 or 5x your money on one sale out of 100 leads. So it's a great place to start. A couple other vendors, Nitro Leads. If you guys haven't heard of Nitro Leads, another great place to go and get brand new IUL leads. They set up Facebook campaigns for you, where you can, basically have your own custom Facebook campaign. We will have some Lead Champ Pro leads for IULs coming here very soon. We should be starting to run our first test ads this week. We filmed a bunch of marketing content and videos, and our hope is to be able to bring you guys exclusive in-house mortgage protection and IUL leads here for this team that we really are not going to open up to a lot of other teams. We're really going to hope and pray that we can keep the supply, at a high level for the agents that we're here helping on a daily basis. So you never have to wait on orders to be fulfilled because there's so many people, going towards some of these more popular vendors. So we are hoping to have that here, sooner than it took us to actually get the software out to you guys. That was a lot more complicated than generating leads. So we're excited to have that available for you guys. So here's the main thing that I really want to talk about tonight. Learning to set the table in an IUL appointment. Okay, learning to set the table. So you don't need to see the whole entire, destination of how I'm going to, pitch the illustration, all these things. Really, when you're first getting started, if you can get confident at learning to set the table on an IUL, you can give yourself the ability to go get off the phone, set another appointment, and come back to present an illustration. You've done some homework for the client. You come back, now having a conversation with your manager, telling you how to go over it with them, how to structure it, or you bring your manager on the call with you to help go over that IUL presentation with the client. And there's a couple different tools that I'm going to show you guys to be able to help visualize that for the client. We're actually going to walk through a very simple illustration so we can learn how to read it. Because I think that was the thing that was very complicated for me. Here's this 36-page illustration. 20 pages of it is just definitions. And then there's only about like 6 or 7 pages that you actually need to go over with the client, and knowing which pages those are, where to find the most pertinent information, and how to use, softwares like, WinFlex. We're not going to go crazy deep tonight, but again, this is just how to get your, learning curve, moving forward so you can get started quickly with IUL. So the first thing is learning how to set the table. When we, go back to some of the original bootcamp information and we talk about setting the table, like what is setting the table? It's, hey, here's who I am. Here's why I'm calling. I want to confirm that this is what you're looking for. And now we're going to talk about like what we're going to do. We're setting the table so that they have proper expectations for what's to come. So obviously, first thing is setting that appointment. Setting that appointment, gathering that initial information. If you've already, set the appointment, the second appointment is you then getting on and actually going through that basic information. So a couple things we're going to go through tonight is number one, the 5 basic points of an IUL, and then the 3 most common setups. This is what I've found is super important. Josh helped put a lot of this together, but going through this with a client, it's like explaining an IUL to a kindergartner. Okay. If you can get someone to understand it on a basic level and understand the different setup options, what they're looking for, you can then go back and help them out, on a, educated side. So a lot of the times, how are these IUL leads generated? They're generated on Facebook for the most part. Some people are doing it on YouTube and a few other social medias, Instagram, TikTok, etc. But they found it somewhere on social media, and most of these people have seen some sort of a video. So I get on the phone with Josh. Hey, Josh, this is Jamie. I'm just getting back with you. You were on Facebook and you filled out that form looking for more information on, IULs, indexed universal life insurance. Most of them put a reason, their primary goal, and you'll have that right there on the lead. So, hey, just getting back with you, you put down that your goal was to save money for retirement. You put down that your goal was to be your own bank. You put down that your goal was to be rich like the Rockefellers. Like, people put down all kinds of things there, but it brings it back to the top of their mind. Reminds me of the Facebook final expense leads when I first got started. Hey, you put down your favorite hobby was watching TV, etc. Like, yep, that's me. Okay, great. And have you been doing some research on IULs, watching videos, kind of going down the TikTok rabbit hole? Like, what do you know? What do you not know? Are you just looking for some more information here? Do you feel like you already kind of have a good amount of information? I just want to know like what they've watched, what they haven't watched. And most people, they're like, yeah, no, I've got a little bit of information, or no, I'm just looking for some more. Can you kind of walk me through the basics? And at this point, I'm going to go through the 5 basic points of an IUL, the 3 common setups. We're going to go through this quickly, like within a couple of minutes. I'm not trying to waste a whole bunch of time before we get into financial inventory or anything. I want to make sure like this is what they were looking for. So, who I am, why I'm calling, confirming, why they filled it out, what they're looking for, asking them if they've done any research or watched any videos. And then I'm quickly going into the 5 points of an IUL. So, Josh, hey, IUL, Index Universal Life Insurance. Hey, were you aware this was life insurance? Some people say, yeah, of course. Other people go, no, I didn't know it was life insurance. Okay, great. So at the end of the day, there's 5 different reasons why people get an IUL. The first 2 are insurance based. Okay, so number 1 is the death benefit. These policies come with a death benefit, meaning that if you die, a beneficiary of your choice is going to get a lump sum of money, just like normal life insurance. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay, great. So that's number 1. Number 2, living benefits. Living benefits say that if you become sick or disabled, critical, chronic, terminal illness, you would have access to this death benefit in an accelerated way. Meaning if you had a heart attack tomorrow, doctors note to prove it, you'd be able to withdraw 100% of the death benefit on this policy. Does that make sense? Yes, it does. Okay, so that's the first 2. The insurance side, no different than most life insurance out there. But the reason that a lot of people are attracted to the IUL are the cash accumulation reasons. And that's the other 3 reasons. So number 3 is tax-free accumulation, or just cash accumulation in general. So number 1, death benefit. Number 2, living benefit. Number 3, cash accumulation. This is where I like to explain that, hey, inside of this policy, since this is a permanent life insurance policy, it falls under the whole life branch. Whole life policies can build cash value. When something builds cash value, you're basically building a savings account inside of the policy. So think of a 401k or an IRA where you're contributing to the policy, and that is growing with an interest rate each month, each year. It's similar what's happening inside of the policy. So the illustration I give every time is I say, hey, Josh, imagine you had $100. You were contributing that to a retirement policy. In the scenario of an IUL, it's going to be, you're going to contribute $100 a month minus the cost of insurance. Whatever's left over minus the cost of insurance, policy fees, etc., is going to go into a cash account. Okay. At the end of the year, you're going to have a certain amount of money in there, and they're going to credit them an interest rate. How do they determine how they credit the interest rate? Typically with an index like the S&P 500. What's the S&P 500? It's the top 500, companies, the S&P 500 makes up, and, their total, performance, et cetera, et cetera. So if we're talking about a 401k or an IRA, hey, Josh, does it make sense that when you have a 401k, if you've got 100 grand in your policy and the market goes up 10%, you make 10%. Now you're at 110 grand. The market goes down 10%, you have 90 grand. Yes. Okay, awesome. Well, in an IUL, if you had 100 grand and the market went up 10%, you're not going to make 10%. You're going to make less, maybe 6, 7, 8%, depending on how the policy's set up, depending on what company, their caps, etc. But if the market goes down 10%, you get to keep what you have. So we get to participate in the upside of the market, but we do not participate in the downside of the market. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay. So number 1, death benefit. Number 2, living benefits. Number 3, cash accumulation. So the money's accumulating inside of a cash account inside the policy, minus the cost of insurance, and it's credited an interest rate based on how the index does. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay, great. So that's number 3. Number 4 is tax-free accumulation, and number 5 is tax-free withdrawal. Taxes is a lot of the reason that people like these policies. So if you have a 401k or an IRA, you're being taxed on that. There was a crazy, simple calculation that was done by Grady's dad the other day, Glenn Polson, where he said, take X amount of income and divide it by 0.7. Okay. And what does that mean? You're basically taking out the 30% for taxes. So if you wanted to have $100,000 tax free, so if I had $100,000 and I wanted tax-free money divided by 0.7, I would need $142,000 roughly in a 401k or an IRA in order to get $100,000 out of it. Where if I've got $100,000 in an IUL, I get to pull that money out tax-free, which is exciting. Now, imagine that you wanted to have $1 million in tax-free money at retirement. You'd have to have $1.4 million in your 401k or your IRA, and then taxes happen, and then you can have your $1 million. Whereas if you've got $1 million accumulated into an IUL, that's your $1 million tax-free. Okay. So tax-free accumulation, tax-free withdrawal, and no penalties before retirement age. So if you've got a 401k, you've got 100 grand, an emergency happens, you decide you need to pull the money out, 10% penalty, taxed, etc. Whereas with this, you don't have to worry about when it's being pulled out. And it's like, hey, does that make sense? Death benefit, living benefit, cash accumulation, tax-free withdrawal, etc. Yes. Okay, great. Is that kind of what you were looking for? Absolutely. Okay, so now you got the basics of an IUL down. And we've got this written in a document for you guys, and we'll kind of teach you to go through it. Hey, so now the last thing we want to talk about are just the 3 most common setups. It's really important that somebody talks to you about this. It's really important that when you work with an agent, that they break this down for you. At the end of the day, if an agent doesn't break this down for you, they're hiding something or they're uneducated. Just that's the honest truth. You have to let the client know what is available, because at the end of the day, we've got a protection focus, a growth focus, and then we'll call it some sort of a blended option. So we get paid on the amount of life insurance that's sold. I've found, I'm breaking character here for a second. I've found that when I explain to the clients that we get paid based on the amount of life insurance that's sold, and that when we do a growth focused plan, meaning minimum life insurance, maximum cash value, and we're talking about putting the client in the best position possible, they appreciate that. And if people typically aren't talking about that, it's because they're selling the maximum life insurance plan, which is not bad. It just depends on the client's goals and situation. So the 3 setups, protection focused, go back to that original example I said of, Josh is putting in $100 a month. An example would be a protection focus of, 80 of that $100 is going towards life insurance and 20 of the $100 is going towards cash growth. That would be a protection focused policy. A growth focused policy would flip it on its head. Maybe $20 is going towards life insurance and $80 is going towards, cash growth. Blended policy, call it 50-50. $50 goes into cash, $50 goes into, life insurance. So at the end of the day, we're talking about how much does this cost? It's a loaded question. That's like asking how much does a 401k cost? It's how much do you want to contribute to your retirement? So, Josh, do you want to put in $100 a month, $200 a month, $300 a month, $1,000 a month? You get to choose how much you would like to save into the policy. And then we're going to determine based on your goals, how we're going to structure it. So based on what you share with me, whether you have insurance, don't have insurance, it might make sense to have more of a protection focus if you have no life insurance at all. If you already have life insurance that you're happy with, maybe it makes sense to minimize the life insurance, maximize the cash growth. It all just depends on your goal, what you're looking for. So I explain that to them. And then we just have a candid conversation, open up for questions, want to know a little bit more about their goals. They'll explain what they have, what they don't have, what they're looking for. And a lot of the times the client will just tell you how much money per month they want to put in. They'll just tell you. You say, hey, we're talking complete hypothetical situation here, but how much do you think you could contribute towards a policy? Can't really think of this as just a bill. Think of this as you are saving into a retirement account. How much do you want to contribute? You get to pick the price, and then I'll help you determine how we structure that money. So you pick $500 a month, no matter how I structure it, it's going to be $500 a month. But we're going to determine how much insurance you're going to get and how much that cash is going to grow based on what we do with that. And then you start having that conversation. If you're a new agent, that's as far as you need to go. Gather that information, set another appointment, and then get off the phone and we can go ahead and, do some homework for that person. Another thing that you can do before you get off the phone, I probably highly recommend this actually, so you're not wasting your time. Basic financial inventory on the health side. We want to make sure they can qualify. So really quickly dig into the knockout questions. Hey, real quick, since this is life insurance, we just want to make sure that this is something you can qualify for. Have you ever had a heart attack, stroke, cancer? Are you diabetic, high blood pressure, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Get all those things out of the way so you're not surprised later. I had one today that I made that mistake and ended up working out in my favor, thankfully. The guy goes, I'm a smoker, but I'm healthy. I go, okay, great. Healthy smoker. That's an oxymoron, but all right. So we go through the whole thing and then I get to the underwriting. No, 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 no. And then third screen pops up on Mutual of Omaha. Does this client have a history of COPD? And I'm like, no. I'm like, they're about to give me the bank info. He's like, I was misdiagnosed with COPD. And I'm like, how do you get misdiagnosed with COPD? He's like, yeah, they gave me the medicine for it. They took me off of it. And I'm like, okay, well, this is probably going to get denied, but let's just do it anyways. I'll put some agent notes in the section. And I went through and I put some notes saying that he was misdiagnosed with COPD, taken off the medicine 18 months ago, ended up getting approved on the spot. I was mind blown, actually, that IUL approved the guy, smoker with, some former history, but, we were truthful about it and they approved him. So that's incredible. But I found out like 3/4 of the way into the application that was a thing. I should have found that out earlier. And it ended up working out in my favor. But a lot of the times, you don't pull that information. It feels like a huge waste of time, whereas that could have been a 7-minute phone call versus I had already dedicated 2 hours into this person. Was thankful that it did work out. So definitely going through the health questions. And then at that point, like I said, if you are not feeling super comfortable going through everything and presenting the options, reschedule an appointment. Take that, get on the phone with your manager, walk through exactly what you're going to do, and then get back on with them. And it's really not that crazy to go ahead and present. We're going to give you guys a few basic options here in a second just to show you how you can actually share that with the client. So one of the things that I would recommend is getting WinFlex. If you guys don't have WinFlex, this is something that you can use for really all of the carriers for the most part. I typically use this for Mutual of Omaha specifically, and that's the example that I'm going to give you guys today. So I can come in here and I can run an illustration for either an easy solve or we'll talk about the different structures, et cetera. But I can actually break down exactly what this will end up looking like for somebody. So basically you come in here and you're going to put in the client's name, age, state, etc., what you want to solve for. So you go easy solve, where I just pick, the monthly premium, or I can go ahead and, say I want $100,000 worth of life insurance. You can do a face solve, minimum face, maximum funded premium. So this is how you do, I want to pay $200 a month and I want to have the minimum amount of life insurance and the maximum amount of death benefit, or minimum amount of life insurance, maximum amount of cash value. You don't have to get too deep into the weeds here, but you can choose between level and increasing on the death benefit. You put in your info and then you go ahead and calculate. And I'll give you guys an example of one that I did the other day here and how we'll go through and read it. So, okay, this was a client that I did the other day, 42, non-tobacco. She wanted to put in $300 a month. She wanted minimum death benefit, maximum cash value. We did a level death benefit. There's different opinions on level versus increasing. That's a little bit more of an advanced topic we don't need to get into today, but her death benefit was $218,000. Now, the max death benefit on a MU IULE is $300,000. So if I start getting in and she wants to pay $400, $500 a month, we're going to end up getting to a point where, the death benefit would have to be way higher than what MU would give her for this to be, max funded. So we would have to go to a different carrier. So in this scenario, I go MU IULE if I'm able to stay under a $300,000 death benefit every time. And I'll tell some scenarios on why I go with other carriers here shortly, but very simple. You get on this first page. Hey, Deanna, right here, this is a policy summary page, 42 non-tobacco. We've got Death benefit 218,924. Level years 1 through 78. That just basically means this policy is designed in perfect scenario to last until age 120. We'll show you when it will and when it won't last till age 120. $300 a month. Index is the S&P 500. And here's all those benefits we talked about: the chronic, critical, terminal illness. Bunch of these pages are just gonna be definitions and things. But the page that I want to take you to is here, which is the S&P 500 historical return. So if you look at here, the last 20 years of what has happened, you can see what the S&P 500 did. And then you can show here the 1 year 100% participation, which is what we are putting this policy into. And you can see that, let's say, just the last 10 years, 2014, they did 11.39. This policy would have done 9.25. 2015, negative almost 1%. This policy did 0%. Jump up to 2008, negative 38. This policy did 0. So this is the concept of, in the years when the S&P 500 makes money, you're going to make money too, but less than everyone else who's making money. But if everyone else loses 20% like they did in 2022, you're going to get 0. And just illustrating that concept for them, showing that Mutual of Omaha did 9.25, 7 of the last 10 years. Okay, so 3 of the last 10 years, they did 0, and 7 of the last 10 years, they did 9.25. So we keep scrolling here and we'll get down to the main illustration. See, a lot of pages. All right. So this page used to freak me out, used to be super complicated. I used to hate looking at this page. I didn't understand it. What do they mean by guaranteed, alternative scaled, non-guaranteed, all these things? It really just was overwhelming for me to go through until it was broken down for me really simply. The guarantee is just, it's all it's guaranteed. The guarantee is 0. So this first column, you look over here on the far left, this just shows that we're putting in $3,600 a year one. She's 43 years old at the end of year one. Year two, she's 44, so on and so forth. You can see after 20 years, she's put in 72 grand. Okay. The guaranteed column is, if there is a negative growth, S&P 500 goes backwards every single year, you're going to put in this much cash, and a 0% interest is going to be contributed. So if we look 2234, so this is saying that of the 3,600, $2,234 is going towards cash value, and the rest is going towards the cost of insurance. Okay, so if you do that math, that means that about $1,300 or so is going towards the cost of insurance in that scenario. So first year, $2,200, second year, $4,400, so on and so forth. And you can see that this will grow with no interest. And then at about, let's see, year 30, you see it start to slow down and start to slowly go backwards. And again, you see the guarantee. So this is going to last until 87, 86 if everything goes horrible. The economy goes backwards every single year for all of those years, then it's going to, go away when she turns 86, because the interest, cost of insurance, all those things weren't able to be kept up. So the guarantee is that it will last until this age of 86, where she'll have a $18,000 death benefit. And then obviously, cash accumulation is not growing because it's going backwards and the cost of insurance is getting more expensive. Alternative scale, non-guaranteed and non-guaranteed. So you've got 5.92. How do you get 5.92? Well, if you take the chart that I showed you guys before with 9.25, and if 7 out of 10 years they got 9.25 and 3 out of 10 years they got 0, average that out, it's going to be somewhere around this, somewhere around 5.92. So this far right column is what Mutual of Omaha thinks they're going to do. It's an illustration. It's not what they're actually going to do, but it's what they think they're going to do. And then this middle one, 3.75, is just a midpoint option between the two, saying, hey, if it does a little bit less than what we think we're going to do, it could look like this. So you walk somebody through and you say, hey, this is what your cash would look like inside of the policy if they did 5.92. And you can say, hey, we don't know what they're going to do, but look back at the last 10 years. They did 9.25, 7 of the last 10 years. So just gives you some historical data there. The accumulation value is what you're accumulating inside of the policy, and the whole time you've got a $218,000 death benefit. The surrender value is what you actually have access to borrow against. What you have access to borrow against. So you can't just put your money in, pull it out. So in year one, you can't borrow against it. In year two, you can borrow $376. In year three, 400 or 4,030, so on and so forth. And you can see that at a certain point, the surrender value and the cash value will meet each other. And that is in year 15. Where you now have the ability to pull 100% of the money out of the policy. And then for the rest of the time of the policy, you'll notice that this accumulation and surrender are the same number. So just showing people, hey, this is what it could grow into. And when people are like, well, how do you get access to more money faster? Well, it's all about how you structure the policy. So somebody might put a lump sum in earlier on, whatever that looks like. So one of the other things to look at is the guideline maximum premium. So she's putting in $300 a year. That means that this is max funded. This is the maximum amount that she could get. If you were to look at like an easy solve policy for this, this would probably be, I don't think you actually couldn't do this policy easy solve. It'd be too much. You wouldn't be able to do it. So this is the maximum amount that she can go ahead and put in per year. If you wanted to put in more, you'd have to buy more life insurance because you have to have a minimum amount of life insurance per dollar of cash value in the policy. So long and short of it, this is just a basic representation of how an illustration works. Most of them look like this. Most of them have policy summary pages, and you just have to learn to get comfortable going through it. One of the softwares that I use, which is really, really helpful for going through it, is a software called Crankwheel. So Crankwheel, actually, this is the wrong screen. We are going to do this screen. Okay, so Crankwheel is a Google Chrome plugin that you can download for free. So I come in here and I'm actually going to change this up one more time, go full screen all the way. All right, perfect. So give me a thumbs up if you can see the little pop-up that came up on the right side of Crankwheel. Okay, perfect. So I'll come in here and I'll show my screen to the client, and then I can send them a text message. It's totally free. So I'm gonna send myself a text message right now. So it's like, hey, Bob, I just sent you a text message from an 877 phone number, and there's a link. So my phone literally just popped up, and there's a link to go ahead and join the meeting. I click, and on my phone, I can see what I'm screen sharing. So then I'm able to go through with the client and be like, hey, here's what's going on my screen. So in this top right corner, you can see what they see. So you can see that they're tuned into this, and I can scroll through and I can see exactly what they see on their phone's on speakerphone. And I can walk them through this without having to get them to join a Zoom or anything like that, which is really, really helpful. So a lot of the times I'll get on and I'll show them me building the illustration. I'll show them us walking through the illustration. Then a lot of times with bigger premiums, I'll even let them watch me fill out the entire application. Someone's like, I don't want to give you my social. I haven't been getting that at all because they're watching me type it in. I'm like, you can see this is a Mutual of Omaha browser. Like you can see this is an F&G browser. So Crankwheel has been a game changer for that. So you can go ahead and send text messages or emails to anybody in regards to that. So I've definitely been enjoying using that. Let's see what else I had here. Okay. And then this is a big one, just understanding when you might go with different carriers. So when would you go with an Americo IUL, Ethos IUL, Mu IUL, F&G, NLG? At a higher level, there's a lot of preference. Like when you get into some of like the crazier policies, like the 1,000 a month, 2,000 a month, someone wants to put in 20 grand. Like there's definitely carriers that are going to structure those things better. What's best for the client, what's best for the agent, like all those things are all factors. But on a really basic level, because we're not talking about advanced crazy policies, if the death benefit needs to be really high, you're not going to be able to go with probably America or Mutual of Omaha if the death benefit needs to be super high. If someone's putting in, a few grand a month, the death benefit's going to need to be really high. So if I can keep the death benefit under 300,000 and someone wants something that's going to be, structured for max cash, I'm going to go Mutual of Omaha. If not, I'm probably going F&G or NLG for the most part. If someone wants something that's protection focused, meaning they want the life insurance and the benefits, and they want some cash value, but it's really not that important. America IUL is a great policy to be able to sell. Ethos IUL as well. They are easy solved, meaning that they are there to last on the life insurance portion. They're not there to grow cash value for, retirement. It's going to be there for forever. So that's what the reason why I would go with specific carriers over another. Yeah, and then just the last thing I really want to talk about, guys, is just the importance of getting around other people who are doing this. I mean, that's why we are throwing our lock-in that's coming up May 2nd through the 4th. I mean, if you are on the edge of deciding if you want to come to that, I want to highly recommend it, especially if you're a part of Living Hope. I do have some money from FFL Corporate that I'm going to be pouring into leads for everyone on our team in attendance to make sure that we can stack the deck with appointments. I've got about 10 grand in IUL lead money that I'm going to be putting into silver, gold, platinum IUL leads. I'm going to buy out the entire ILC for probably like a week straight every single day leading up to the event. And we'll probably have, I don't know, 3,000-4,000 leads that we're going to distribute out depending on where people are located in what states that they are licensed in. So if you're on the team, please come. We will definitely get you some leads. And then just getting around other people who are doing it. A couple weeks ago, I didn't even know what the 5 points of an IUL are. I've been selling insurance for almost 4 years now, sold close to $2 million in premium on my own pen. Didn't know how to explain an IUL. I was just enough to be able to have a conversation with someone, but I kind of sounded uneducated and like I was talking, just kind of talking, to talk, but just having something written down, Lockhart put these down on a piece of paper, and all I needed was those 5 bullet points, and then to hear him say it about a dozen times. And then I was like, okay, I can do that in some version. It's not gonna be perfect, but it's going to get better each time. Learning the 3 different ways to structure an IUL, like learning just enough to be able to set that appointment. And then I had a couple people help me out with a few of them. And it's like, okay, now, I can do this, having to write my first policy where, it was structured minimum death benefit, maximum cash value. It was weird the first time, and then it gets easier. So the whole purpose of the lock-in is for you to be able to learn this very highly paid skill set, which is talking with clients about IULs. 96% persistency right now with Mutual of Omaha for IULE. Across all carriers, 93% of people are keeping their policies. Love final expense, love mortgage protection. It pays the bills. 70% of people will keep their policy. That is a fact. It's an industry standard. Quentin might have the best system in the world for retention. He might have 90%. But take all agents across all products, 70% persistency for final expense and mortgage protection. Take all agents across all products, 93% persistency on the IUL front, which is insane. So more people are staying on the books. The average premium is anywhere between like $300 to $500 a month. Obviously, the commission is lower depending on how you structure it. But the amount of work that goes in, the conversation's different. I will never convince anybody away from what pays the bills, the bread and the butter, but you're adding more tools to your tool belt. You're becoming an overall more well-rounded agent. Coming to this lock-in, we are focused on IULs. We are focused on teaching people how to set the table, set appointments, teaching people how to run illustrations, teaching them about creative ways to have conversations and fund IULs. We are going to have a special guest trainer. A couple of you guys got to hear from him last week. He'll be doing virtual, but he does a great job. Glenn Polson. A lot of y'all have heard of Grady Polson. But Glenn Polson is Grady's dad, and he is like the IUL godfather, believe it or not. He was the #1 career agent over at Columbus Life many, many years. That is one of our newest carriers that we're going to be partnering up with. And one of the cool things is that our team, Living Hope, is going to be piloting a lot of that new carrier We're going to be working directly with Grady and with Glenn to make this a great carrier, and we're going to get some fun team benefits for being a part of that and helping really launch that product into the rest of FFL. And hopefully we'll be able to put some pretty cool incentive structures in place. But one of the things that Glenn's going to teach on is how to sell to wealthy people. It's just a different skill set. Talking to final expense leads and talking to somebody, just to give some perspective, if anybody had any guesses of the largest annual premium that Glenn wrote for IUL, $196,000 for the year was an IUL policy that he wrote. And he was number one in his company a couple of years ago, the year that he retired, on 12 clients. 12 clients for the whole year. And he was number one in the whole company. So he's learned how to sell to wealthy people, number one. Number two, he's done it off 100% referrals. It's a totally different presentation. We are, very focused in on the be your own bank concept a lot of the time, where it's like, hey, you're going to accumulate this money and then you're going to pull from it and you're going to use it for something else. And we talk about all those benefits, which are great benefits. Glenn's presentation is very different when we're talking to somebody who is wealthy, who's done well, who've saved money. It's all about leaving the money in the policy properly structured for as long as physically possible, so that that can continue to accumulate uninterrupted, and figuring out how much money they actually need to retire. It is a really, really cool presentation. He's got a lot of experience and golden nuggets. That's just a different voice that we haven't heard inside FFL. So I'm excited to have him zooming into the event. We also have, like I had alluded to, Americo, Mutual of Omaha, F&G, Ethos, all coming to support, as well as Corebridge, which is going to be, awesome to have them there as well. So we're going to have 5 different carrier reps in attendance, prizes. We will be doing something fun on the Saturday. So if you are able to attend, able to get to Greenville, please come out. We'd love to have you. We've got some room here, and it's going to be an incredible event. The goal is that you're able to come, get some leads, book some appointments, make some sales, and walk out having made more money than you came in spending to get there, number one. And then number two, confidence to be able to go home and say, I'm going to swipe my card for $1,000 worth of IUL leads. Confidence to start working these into your schedule, confidence to start having conversations with people, because guess what? This is a fun product that I would buy, that I have bought. This is a fun product that people that you should be proud to tell them about it. It feels like a fun secret. Like, people want to know things that other people don't know. And it's like, we've got this trendy, cool thing that's going viral on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube and all these places that people are like, they're excited to learn about. Someone fills out a mortgage protection lead, a lot of times, like, I thought I had to do it. And it's like, yeah, you do have to do it. But like in IUL, you have that conversation. They're excited to save for retirement. They have a different emotional attachment to saving than they do spending. It's more selfish. The greed play is massive when you're talking about IULs. People care about themselves. They care about their family too. That's an added benefit. But the cash accumulation, that no one likes paying taxes. There are so many different reasons why learning this skill is a big deal. And then it allows you to be able to have that in your tool belt for when you're talking to leads, but also, when you find somebody who is, wealthier, knowing how to speak their language, because they don't speak the same language as the final expense client. And when you are able to do a big policy like that and structure it properly and help somebody, you're their guy, you're their girl. And they know and associate with other people in a similar wealth class. Glenn talked about how he did not ever buy a lead in his entire career. That's kind of a wild journey to think about. It was all referrals. And at the end of the day, wealthy people trust wealthy people. And of course, they're going to refer somebody. He builds his entire presentation around, gathering referrals, which is a big deal. So where are you going to learn all this stuff? You're going to learn it in person if you come here to Greenville for our lock-in, livinghopelock-in.com. That's my commercial for that. I would love to see you there. We're going to have a lot of fun. And if anybody, got some time with us at the end of convention when we were there in February, it was just good to spend time together, good to get to know each other, good to figure out, where people come from, figuring out, what's holding people back, all of that stuff. It just kind of helps you, figure out exactly what's holding them back from being successful in this business. So if you're trying to figure out what's holding you back from being successful, having some time with other people in person who are doing this at a high level, we're going to be able to figure that out, within a couple of days and send you off on your way. All you got to do is just bring yourself there, and we will get you set up for success. So, guys, it's going to be fun. Just overall, don't be afraid of IUL. Just start working it in slowly. Start watching some YouTube videos. Start going through the boot camp. Start listening to other people who are doing their IUL appointments. Just start. I was pretty intimidated by it for like almost 3.5 years, but I've pretty much exclusively switched over, like probably 90% IUL, maybe 10% mortgage protection at this point. So yeah, we're excited. We hope that we can continue to teach you guys. More and more resources will be coming. And then last thing, a lot of us are using Lead Champ Pro. If you haven't started using Lead Champ Pro, if you want to use it, we've got a 5-day free trial. We are continuing to build out even more things that are going to be beneficial for the IUL and annuity side, which is just going to help you make more money in the long run. So leadchamppro.com, check out the demo that we do. If it helps you make one extra sale a year, one extra sale a month, like you'd be very, very surprised. There you go. Quentin said Lead Champ Pro made me $3,000 in the last week. So Quentin paid for his entire year of Lead Champ Pro with one extra sale, one, follow up, one not now, one think about it that was converted into a sale. So highly, highly recommend. But guys, we're going to be on here doing live dials here for the rest of the night. If you have any questions, if you want to come to Greenville, please, please, please reach out, and I'd be happy to have you guys here and take care of you. So everybody have an amazing night. Appreciate y'all for getting on, and we will talk to y'all soon. Have a good one, guys.